What's up, you guys? This is Coach Matt. I'm going to go over Anahí's MEET prep and how we were able to walk away with a
12.5 kg total PR.
MEET PR in every single lift, all the while dealing with SI pain. So I'm going to go over how we navigated that and how we approached her prep to come out and have a great day. Let's get into things. Mostly what I want to discuss for Anahí's MEET prep is how, number one, we were able to progress her squat so much and what our programming looked like for that. And then for bench, how we were able to get really good consistency and predictability in our training. And then deadlift, how we were able to come out with a pretty good day on deadlift and manage some nagging SI pain specifically that really hindered our top end strength on the day to some degree and hindered our training in that last block of prep, but able to come out and have a pretty good day nonetheless. First, let's look over the stats here. So we did compete at Collegiate Nationals last. The biggest goal was to get MEET PR. Squat, we definitely hit that out of the park. We made a huge progress on squat. Bench, we made pretty good progress. 5 kilos for her weight class, being a female. That's not bad at all. And then deadlift, we did make a little MEET PR, which was very solid. But strength-wise, for squat on her third, she had that. And deadlift, we had more, which we'll get into. So we had a really, really strong day and came out with a very solid performance, all the while dealing with some very nagging SI pain. Let's get into things. So we'll start here. Open states part 1. Here, this is when her deadlift was doing really well. You'll see we had a very solid 285 pounds, which was really, really solid. That's 130. I was very happy with that. You can't really complain about a 130 deadlift when we look back over here, and that's way higher than 120, or a little bit over 127 and a half. That's huge. This was a huge win. We're ending off this block in a very nice spot. We'll go over to squat. We ended off squat with 280 for 2, which is nuts. Again, we were in a very good spot. Bench, we hit 115 for 2, 120 for 1. It was a very, very good block to lead into our last block of prep. Now, this last block of prep was where I want to get into things. Fitness was obviously very high to go into this block. We were in very good numbers on all lifts. And also, you'll see sumo question mark, sumo question mark. This is when we actually tried doing sumo after CNATs. And sumo actually seemed to work well. She used to be a conventional puller. So really, we were in our very beginning stages of pulling sumo. And sumo was doing great. We were getting incredibly strong. I think part of it was we just got too strong too quick comparative to our old strength. And we hit a great single here. But then all that kind of accumulated fatigue, accumulated workload that our body wasn't necessarily used to in that movement pattern kind of caught up to us a bit. What happened was right around here, you'll see this is empty. We were not able to hit our deadlift on this day. And this is where things got a little bit interesting and we had to make some adjustments. So this is when the SI pain was really at its highest level. And this SI pain really stopped her from being able to lift. We'll go into this. You'll see, Anahí, I'm sorry, but I wanted to show the people what happened here. So look, just could not do it, right? Maybe we could have grinded out, but the SI pain was really hurting. That's when things got interesting. So what we did right there is we noticed that fatigue was pretty high and the workload was just too much. It was easily a case of too much workload. First thing we did was we decided to pull back off a stiff leg set on this day. Her secondary day is just a stiff leg day, very easy, non-specific, and it works out great. Very minimal workload, just kind of go in there and do some posture training, hinge work, and it gets the job done. We also took off a set of leg press on this day. Leg press was flaring her SI. None of this was pulled off. So then we come into the following week, just quite literally with pulling off a set of that stiff leg, we were able to come in and hit the 2 reds, essentially what she was trying to hit the week before, and be able to actually hit it. We made it audible. You'll see the actual prescription was much lower, but she was actually feeling quite good. And while I wanted to get that intensity exposure, not only for the actual intensity exposure, but for her mental confidence, because she's a mental lifter for deadlift specifically. This was the week after. Granted, it was not fast, but you just see the emotional reaction to it. Very happy. That gives her confidence, which was huge. And then what we did is this was kind of like a very slow tapered approach. From here, essentially, from this week on, we just basically started tapering her deadlift. That wasn't necessarily the plan, but that's kind of how it worked, and it kind of worked out well. So you'll see we did here, we had a triple, we did a double, set of 5 to a set of 6. The reason why I went to a set of 6 here is because in past, when we were doing deadlifts really well, she responded well to high reps. So I wanted to kind of lean back into that territory of higher reps for this back off set. Still, the workload was just basically the same, and then the workload here was just slightly pulled off. The workload comparative to this week was not massively different. Very minor pullback, and we took off an accessory right here. I believe that was booty builder. Yep, and then skip these sets, just use light sets if it caused pain. So again, you'll see the very slow tapered approach here. Kept that one set of leg press very easy. Took off some eccentric loaded step downs. Not that those weren't very fatiguing, but still. And then took off a set here, and then decreased reps by 1. So you'll see match the same load, so we kept the intensity exposure the same, and then just decreased a little bit of workload with the decrease in reps. So slowly but surely hit our heaviest squat, and then week of the meet taper week, we were able to do like an opener-ish kind of thing, pretty solid. pretty well. Pretty happy with that. I was showing that the kind of slow but sure taper was working. It's magic. And then we just did her typical stiff leg on Wednesday. Then on meet day, we were able to come out and hit a pretty good deadlift. The time selection was 120 to 122.5. We took 120 knowing that we could probably hit at least 125, 127.5, maybe 130. Things were moving very good on meet day. That's why we took that 120 for a second. In fact, that 110 moved great. She was feeling great. So we were on like a normal plan. Deadlifts were feeling good. Feeling as good as the last block that we hit around 130. So our plan was probably 130. 120 moved odd. So we took a very small jump. We want to get the win. And you'll see how easy this moved. So we're very conservative here on this. That deadlift taper worked out really well and very happy with it. Again, we already hit 122.5, which is 2.5 above what she basically failed, and then hit again. On a shorter note here, I want to go over her squat. Took off this prep. Simply put, we pushed the intensity on this pause squat set pretty solidly. You'll see we had around 245, and then week of the meet, we still went out with 250 for positive 2. So again, we pushed the intensity there, but then the back offs are just very easy rep set. This worked out beautifully, having that 2 days off to go into the Saturday primary. What we did, this block for squat, top double, hit a nice double, and then went into this, did a single, then kind of flipped that around, just did a double on the back end for the back offs, and then these high rep work on the back offs. Anahí holistically just responds well to back off work being higher reps, does not need that much intensity on back off work, and just high reps, accumulate good volume, and let that kind of topset exposure be where she gets that intensity, where perfectly placed and perfectly well done on here on this secondary squat. This is her heaviest. This was 292, 132.5. Move super. Yeah, that's what she missed on meet day, but it's because of depth, which we're actually fixing it right now. Her squat blew up. Absolutely blew up. Yeah, her bench blew up. Her heaviest bench. This is pretty good. I was pretty happy. I think her butt might have come off here, maybe a little bit. Yeah. So, iffy, but nonetheless, we were pretty happy with that. Very good. And you'll see on meet day how it moved. We were very happy with it. This is a very solid attempt. Look at that. Attempt selection, not even a microchip more. So we were very, very happy with that. Bench programming wise, basically this first day here, all we did was some Larson auto-regulation stuff. So basically just letting her auto-regulate to the RP. She does a great job. She actually is an athlete who drops the weight if she needs to. She's not someone who says they auto-regulate, but keeps the weight increasing every week, even though the RP is skyrocketing over the prescribed RP. She does a great job on that front. And then her Wednesday is just a 3x1. Female benchers typically respond very well to intensity and can handle it very well. Therefore, the 3x1, it used to be a 1x1 in the past. We did 2x1, then 3x1 seemed to be a really good sweet spot. 3x1 to get that intensity exposure, skill practice for the single, and then some heavy doubles, and then a kind of moderately intense set of 4. Average RP, peak intensity is pretty high on this day. Good amount of workload on this day. And then coming to her Saturday, do her primary bench. What we did was this second to last block, we did a top double, then a fatigue single. Again, that fatigue single for her stays in there pretty much year round, not really pulling it off too much. So she had a nice 115 and 120, and we kind of found that double almost kind of primed her single in a sense, because she was actually warmed up and she could kind of get that skill practice of pausing, warm up more via that double. Therefore, we kept that in that last block, and bench went super well. Basically, into the meet, we didn't really pull back much at all. The goal was just to keep fatigue rising. You'll see here, I don't think we changed much at all. Literally the exact same formula, kept this day the exact same. And then you'll come over to here, her secondary. You'll see we progressed off of this week. For bench for her, we did not need to pull back. We just pulled back some of the accessory work, and that was all the fatigue pullback we need. Just let that fitness keep rising through the mechanism of just keep pushing competition bench press. And then her primary showed up very predictable. Again, her primary is on Saturday. She competed on Sunday, but all we had to do is just shift her exposure timings one day, and we were in a perfectly good spot. More of the story is her squat, nothing crazy programming wise, but took off just from some simple pause squatting on her secondary, and that kind of focused on getting that intensity threshold that we needed. And then the primary on Saturday, again, that being very predictable in nature too, because of the fact that's on Saturday. Shifting it meet week was not a big deal. We knew going into it that we would reliably show up on meet day pretty well. We missed on depth, but we are working on depth by widening her stance a little bit this block, so it's been going really well. That's always good news. Then for bench, we had pretty simple programming, really a very intensity focused secondary, which is very common in female athletes, and it turned out really well. We had a great 5 kilo bench PR on meet day, and deadlift navigated some SI pain through some different programming methods, and basically doing a very slow tapered approach, basically pull off that accumulated fatigue that caused her to flare up her SI, and eventually on meet day with enough pullback we were to come out and be very strong, if not the strongest we've ever been on sumo. Overall, came out with a huge meet PR. Can't really complain too much about that. Meet PRs on every single lift. Anahí's next meet is TBD, so right now we're just working on making sure we're hitting depth on squat and continue to build on the progress that we've already made. But it's been a pleasure to coach Anahí, and I can't be more appreciative of her work in and out of the gym. All right, you guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I hope you learned something about Anahí's MEET prep and her programming, and how you might be able to incorporate some of the things that we use to navigate SI pain or any pain for that matter during a MEET prep. Thank you again for watching. Any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down in the comment section below. And take it easy.